Yeah, hi, welcome everyone. We're delighted to have you join us today. Thank you for signing up, and thank you to those who have submitted questions in advance. We'll get to those in a bit. So this is for the MST in AI Ethics and Society at the University of Cambridge, run between Professional Continuing Education and the Labour Reform Centre for the Future of Intelligence. And this session is designed as an informal opportunity for you to ask us questions about the course, about the application process, about the student experience. It is being recorded for use on the PACE website and social media channels, and afterwards we'll be circulating the link to all the attendees, and then it'll be available for everyone as well. So yeah, please do leave questions in the Q&A function on Zoom. We'll start with some pre-source questions, and we'll move on to the live ones. Yeah, and thank you for the panelists for joining me. So I'm Dr. Garfield Benjamin. I'm one of the two course leads for the MST, and we're delighted to have with us Jonathan Lippman, who's our head of academic administration, keeps everything running on the course and keeps us all in check. And we're also really pleased to have three of our current and former students with us. I'll let them all introduce themselves as well. So first off, Jenny.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my name's Jenny Homer. I work in software sales and building ecosystems. I've worked in the technology space for a good part of 20 years. And I've just submitted my dissertation recently, so just completed the course and really excited to be able to share my learnings and experience over the last 2 years. Thanks, Garfield.
Thanks. Yeah, I was fortunate to have one supervisory meeting with Jenny over the summer, and it was great to hear about your project. Next, Zena, who is actually someone else who I supervised on that dissertation.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm Sina Afshari. I'm also part of the same cohort as Jenny. So just also submitted my dissertation, just finished the course recently. I've been working as an AI engineer in the industry for the last 2 or 3 years, and now through the course, I'm starting to move towards a bit of an AI governance kind of rules and doing some research there. And yeah, so super excited to be here and answer any questions that you guys may have. Yeah.
Thanks, Zena, and well done both on just completing the course. It's yeah, really well done. And finally, we've got Oliver as well.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Unlike the other two, I just submitted the title for my dissertation, so I just got started with all of this. My background is in AI, computer science. I've got an undergraduate degree in AI, and I did some research in AI and music at the University of Barcelona. And I'm currently working at Cambridge University Press as a data analyst. And I've just pretty much done with the first year of this master's. So yeah, I'm from the 24-26 cohort. And I'm super excited to be here and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you all. We really appreciate you spending the time and talking to future applicants. I'm also joined by the other course lead, Dr. Johnny Penn. Johnny, do you want to say a bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, even though I can't see you, I can sense your presence. Looking forward to this AMA. You know, my home internet cut out just as this session was beginning. So if you didn't trust technology to begin with, don't trust it anymore. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this space. I'm a historian of AI primarily, but I'm also increasingly sort of a social theorist about the present. Where are we? What's going to happen next? And I've been involved in the course for almost 5 years, and it's been a pleasure to get to know everybody and to see the places that students go afterwards as well. So looking forward to this.
Thanks. Jonathan, did you want to say anything about your role?
Yeah, so I'm Jonathan Lippman. I'm the head of academic centre administration at PACE. So I helped Johnny and Garfield keep the course on track. And I've been involved in this course since the first cohort back in 2022-23.
Thanks, everyone. And we're also grateful to the PACE marketing team who have set up this meeting and will be in touch with you all afterwards. So yeah, thank you, team. So, okay, let's jump in with the questions. Johnny and I will answer some of the more sort of curriculum and functional questions, and we'll also bring in the students to offer their experiences and perspectives and advice that they can give to people who are interested in applying. So first off, I think maybe we could talk a bit about, we had some questions about the content of the course and the curriculum and what kinds of things are covered. So yeah, this is such a fantastically diverse area, and part of what makes it a joy and a challenge to come up with a curriculum for this is that there are so many different angles to cover. So we are rooting the course in, broadly speaking, the humanities, particularly history and philosophy of science, which happens to be Johnny's background, and science and technology studies, which is more where I'm based, as well as cognate disciplines from philosophy, policy, arts, all sorts of other areas as well. And our guest speakers that we bring in are even broader. So there's a lot of different angles, a lot of different perspectives and topics and frameworks covered, but it's all generally rooted within this humanities framing. So to respond to some of the specific questions we've had about this, people have asked, will the curriculum include topics on AI governance at the political international level, as well as just business? And does it cover topics on the impact of AI on human society, culture, and development? In short, yes, absolutely. The AI and society, the society is doing a lot of work there. We are interested in not just abstract questions, but the concrete effects, harms, reactions that people are having across all different sectors of society at all different levels. And we're very keen to promote students thinking across those different levels and across those different arenas in which they can maybe do something about this as well. So Johnny, perhaps you could then talk about some of the, there's a question asking about how it's divided between theoretical instruction and more practical activities, and some of the other topics that we cover.
Sure. Yeah. So it's been an interesting process teaching this course because, you know, I remember the moment at which I was teaching Module 1 and ChatGPT came out. And students every year say, how do you teach a course with such a rapid moving technology? How do you keep up? And, you know, we've designed things through iteration, through trying many different things and experimenting basically over the years with what we think is the right, you know, assembly, on something that does kind of two things at once. The first is that, you know, the histories of AI, for instance, the ethics of AI, you know, Aristotle and co can be thought of regardless of what forms the technological kind of technology behind ML takes today. So there's an applicability of existing frameworks for ongoing change. That's a worthwhile endeavor and has led to all sorts of fruitful insights and conversations and with the first classes, you know, publications, and now people going on to do PhDs and the like. We mix that with many guest speakers that come in, especially during the residential weeks, in person, and they'll present, and then students often find them afterwards and sometimes build connections with them or networks with them, and we'll see them out in the world beyond just this course. Broadly, though, you know, what I've just described occurs, you know, the kind of core curriculum, as Garfield has alluded to, involves, you know, history, philosophy, some anthropology, but not formally, some sociology, but not formally, in that, like, you don't leave a sociologist on this course the way you would have a bit more training in history and philosophical methods or increasingly STS methods. And then we consider, after the history and STS bits, governance. That's the third module, as you will have seen in the online materials. And then the fourth module is probably the most interesting in my view. It's theories and methods. And this is the juncture at which, you know, if you've come to this degree with something, a burning question that you want to get to the bottom of, we do our best to put you in front of or in working alongside the people that can help you answer it. What we've found is that people will come into the course thinking that they know what they want to work on their dissertation, and then a year later say, nope, it's totally different than what it was, and I need different theories and I need different methods to go about it. I can see from the students that are with us, the alumni as well, that this, you know, I would love to hear you guys, your version of that, but we see it certainly as course leads. And so, yeah, that juncture then transitions into the dissertation. And I mean, for you listening to this, or if you're watching this video later, I think the important takeaway is that we are on your team in terms of looking at your application materials. We want to be a place that can support you getting the answers to the questions that you've come for. In the topic of AI in society, AI ethics in society rather, is big enough that involves a lot of different topics. So we're not looking for you to give us answers. We just want to know what type of questions you ask, because we're accustomed to working across many different kind of interest areas and trying to bring our skills to you that you can then put to bear on the course. I can go on, but maybe I'll pass back to Garfield there.
Well, I wonder actually whether this would be a good point to bring in some of our students on their perspective of the breadth of topics that are covered, or how this may be related to what your expectations were coming in. Does anyone want to kick us off?
I can maybe add something to this from my perspective. One thing about this course that I really liked is just the fact that you come there and it's just like a playground. You have your kind of ideas and you have all of those amazing people working on a lot of cool questions, and you can really shape your experience. So it's really important that you are proactive and go on and get the answers to the questions that you want. And also probably you might also find answers that are not satisfying and you might just change direction. So I think this was the most fun part of it. And yeah, it's also shaping the direction of like kind of, is it work related or is it more theoretical? I think this is also your kind of own choice. You can also get really practical and specific throughout the projects that you work on, also the dissertation project at the end. So for me personally, yeah, that was quite a nice thing. So there is like the flexibility, but also you can get quite in depth in a lot of different diverse areas.
I'm happy to add my thoughts here as well. I think one of the amazing things about the course is the diversity in the cohort. So everyone comes from different backgrounds and from different perspectives, and it's really interesting understanding those backgrounds, understanding where they're taking the course in the context of their kind of space of knowledge. And I can imagine reading the dissertations at the end is pretty wild, because the kind of the range of different topics that they address and the different approaches must be so broad. And I think there's a lot to be learned just from kind of bringing those different perspectives together throughout the course. But I think I agree with Zena. One of the amazing things is you get to find what really works for you and what your area of interest is throughout the course and throughout the different terms, and people kind of go off on different tangents, like really digging deep into a certain area or another. So you get to have that element of control and carve out your own experience, which I think, I don't know how Johnny and Garfield, you managed to do that, but it's fantastic, and it makes it such a unique course in that respect.
I might come in here and just see if I can offer a bit of some answers to the smaller questions, because that may help connect what we're saying to your experience now for everyone listening. So things like Shreya's asked, how important is it to have an academic reference? As you may see by kind of reading between the lines, maybe not with the students we have here, but what you've heard about the course is it's broad enough that we have a lot of people that have been out of academia for 10 or 20 or 30 years. You are not alone. It's okay to seek out the best references you can. If those are industry references, that's okay. I think, generally academic references are better, and yet we can see that they're often harder to get if, it's been a decade or more, and you can speak to that in your proposal. Being, I guess, to some degree transparent in your proposal, to say, here's who I am. This is what I can bring. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to do. And then we can help see how we can help you or otherwise. Diego has asked about whether it's important to align their research to existing CFI kind of program themes. Not necessarily. I mean, it helps us if you say, I want to work on this subject, and I know that this person at CFI is working on this subject, then it's easier for us to kind of envision how you might spend your time on this degree, because you've already kind of done your due diligence. But it's not a prerequisite. So if there isn't anyone whose work greatly aligns with yours, that's okay. We exist beyond CFI. even though it's one of the kind of centers of our kind of organization. I'll do one or two more, and then Garfield, pass back to you. The course application requirements ask for a 5,000 word piece of writing. Does this need to be academic, or can it be journalism, a script, etc.? I think the important thing to remember here is that, you know, it's a course, it's a difficult course in some degree, and we need to make sure that if we accept you on it, we're setting you up for success and not failure. And so demonstrating a kind of basic competency with writing and citation, or above that, is helpful for us to say, okay, this student will, if we throw them into new waters, they'll know enough of how to swim that they're not going to be in trouble. You know, there's lots of different things students have done over the years. We've had people write 5,000 words about an episode in their workplace that they thought was unethical, and trying to figure out what to do about it. Again, not a prerequisite if that hasn't happened to you, and the ethics of doing so is even its own risky thing. You don't have to kind of divulge to us inner processes, but we want to see how you think and how you write. So if that's helpful, it can be journalism, but if you have more kind of academic writing, that's even better, I would say. Okay, I've talked a bit, so I'll pass back to Garfield.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, let's stick with the application then while we're talking about that, and we'll go back to some of the pre-submitted questions. Where have we gone now? So yeah, professional references are accepted if they can speak to your ability to handle the kinds of things that an academic reference might also respond to, then that's helpful. In terms of the backgrounds and career stage and things like that, we have, yeah, some students do come straight out of an undergrad. Not that many, but we do have some each year. Others have been out for 40 years and anywhere in between. Others have taken a mix of courses recently, others haven't done anything. It really is a complete mix, as well as in terms of discipline. Someone's mentioned a Bachelor of Pharmacy. Yeah, we have people from all different sectors. I think that the students we've got here are largely from technical backgrounds, but we also have filmmakers, activists, people working in government, in marketing, in all sorts of different areas, which I think is partly testament to how broadly issues of AI are becoming applicable in society, how much is being felt, and also the need to broaden out who's tackling these, and that it is a society-based approach and sort of movement. Essentially, it's not just a sort of few checklists of ethics that get ticked off in technical rooms or closed policy doors. Other people have asked around experience in professional history, public and private sector. Again, it's really mixed. Plenty of our students do come in with a deep technical background. Many do not, and you know, we specifically design the course around this mix of backgrounds. That's part of what the value of it is, because you'll be interacting with people with all these different perspectives, and also we know that what we need to cover and what sort of the intellectual toolkit we need to equip students with is based on that as well. So you won't be alone in whatever gaps in knowledge you think you have, or gaps in skills you think you have. There'll be others in the same boat, and there'll be others who maybe can support you through that. And it is a very collective and collaborative environment within the cohort, as well as with the team of academics that we've got. People have asked about what it would add value to in terms of their background in maybe law and corporate governance. Yes, but I think, like I said, this shows the different areas that AI is becoming relevant to, and that we need people from these different sectors to respond in different ways. There's no one fix for this, and I think having different people working in different global contexts, in different sectors, in different levels of governance and change is really important. Sorry, Johnny, do you want to jump in?
I'm just going to share one anecdote that I hope might assuage some of the worries that are in the questions of, like, do I need a technical background? How technical is this course? The first meeting I have come across on the topic of AI ethics was in 1972, and it was with kind of technical practitioners in AI, and they wrote a bunch about what they thought would happen in the world, and much of it they got right, but on entirely different technical grounds. They were working on like symbolic AI expert systems, and yet what they worried about came about. Why? One of the things this course offers that I think distinguishes it from the kind of weekend class or the online, 8-week, digital only class where you just watch a Zoom or something like that. Valuable in their own right, but one of the reasons we're distinct from that is, in my mind, this course is a bit more like a laboratory. And it's a laboratory that treats AI as a socio-technical phenomenon, which means that you can't just understand AI through the technical material. And we see this again and again with technical people who say, oh, oh, there's so much more. And I'd love Jenny and Zina to speak to you, because I know you two have both had your own experience, and maybe you could relate it to the finding of a supervisor, because that's come out in the Q&A. But the point is, AI is kind of a floating signifier or suitcase word for many different technical practices. We try to accommodate as many of them as possible, while also allowing for social phenomena and the study of social phenomena. And that's what I think the humanities does best. That is our value proposition in some sense in the conversations around AI. But yeah, Garfield, thanks for entertaining my little addition there. Could Jenny or Zina jump in with a comment? Jenny?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I think I certainly came to the course with lots of gaps in my knowledge. My original degree was over 20 years before I started this course. So I had to look up my advisor. One of them had passed away, and I had to find the other one, but managed to get a reference in the end. And so I was coming in, and there were lots of technical people that really thought that they had understanding of AI kind of down. And what was funny is one of the first sessions that we had on the course, we had to define AI. And on that occasion, I really struggled. And I thought to myself, well, what am I doing here? I can't even define the concept of AI. Like, what have I got myself into? I'm way out of my depth. And then, throughout the course, obviously, I realized, as we all did, that the whole fact that you can't define it was a key kind of learning of the course. And so I think the message is that coming with acknowledged gaps is not new, because a lot of the people that come and don't perceive themselves to have any gaps in their understanding will just learn about the gaps that they have. So, and that's part of the kind of the wonderful leveling journey on this course, if that helps. And I think, everybody brings their own different perspective. And I have found the course really, really life-changing for me and interesting, because it's been so validating of my experience of working with technology and in the technology sector over the period that I had. Now, my perception was that I work in a sales and go-to-market, a marketing role, and it's always seen as slightly periphery to the core technical competencies. But seeing it through the lens of socio-technical systems, I realized that in the context of the overall project of making technology and world making with technology, what I do is so instrumental, and that's been a kind of a journey within itself as well. So I could go on, but I'll pass over to Zina.
That was awesome. I mean, there is not much more that I can add to this, but maybe one particular bit is, so when you're a person with a technical background, you think about problem solving. I need to solve this problem in a specific way. But then there are problems we can't solve. And one thing that I think learning through the course was really valuable was the kind of idea to sit in with the problem and think like, okay, we cannot solve this problem, but it is okay to sit in with it, and realizing that it has so many dimensions. It is a socio-technical problem. It's just not only an optimization problem that you face. Like, there is so much more to it. And I think acknowledging these kind of like nuances is quite valuable, and it might be part of the actual problem at the end of the story. So I think yeah, just these two bits always interacting, and that's the fun part, like being in the middle and also trying to find your way is the fun thing about the course, definitely.
I just wanted to add what I agree completely with what Jenny and Zena said. What Zena was saying about learning to sit with the problem. It feels so uncomfortable sitting with a problem and just getting used to being in that space where you don't really have the answer to, especially I'm also coming from that technical background and you're just used to getting the answer straight away or trying to have like a clear path of how to get the answer. But I think the course does actually encourage that uncomfortability of not really having a straight answer and finding your way through it in a critical way. Um, and then also adding to what Jenny said, I also think that I was one of the people that came in from with the computer science background. I'm one of those that comes in and like, oh, I've got the answer to everything. AI is just like maths and it's just probability and there's nothing else around it. And then you slowly start going into the history and you understand that this is not a unique thing to AI and it's been happening over and over. Then you go into like the philosophy and understand all these points of views from which you can view AI. And it just keeps escalating and it just keeps on getting deconstructed. So I think that is a really, really cool process to go through. And I'm really enjoying it so far. But we'll see how this dissertation goes.
Oliver, can I ask you, because it's come up in the questions, how do you find socializing with other students? You know, obviously there's an online component, but could you speak to how you manage, yeah, being a member of a cohort?
Um, I don't want to give myself too much credit because I think I'm extremely lucky to have a really, really nice cohort where everyone is just really willing to interact with each other and make things happen. I mean, there's obviously the residential part where everyone has to be in the lectures, but it's those like in between spaces where you see that everyone just wants to socialize and everyone wants to share these ideas. I think it's really well set up in the way that you have these lectures and then you go for lunch and then you have these lectures and then you get these breaks and it's all of this time that you spend kind of cooking these ideas together and bouncing them off with people from completely different backgrounds. And going back to the socializing, I think everyone does the effort, at least in my cohort, it seems like everyone is trying to do an active effort to stay together. We're even trying to organize this like unofficial, like extra residential because we miss each other so much in this way. So I think it comes quite naturally with the people. I think Johnny and Garfield do a really good job. Well, everyone on the team has done a really good job of selecting people that are seem really eager to learn and really eager to meet people that have the same worries that they do. And also it's just the amazing benefit of having everyone from these like super different backgrounds that you can kind of call friends. And then not only during these 2 years later down the line, you'll be able to interact with and all of the opportunities that that might mean and all the relationships that you can keep on going. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you all. I think maybe we could talk a bit more actually on that about the practicalities of how the course runs. So each of the 4 terms where you have a structured module, there is a residential week in Cambridge, where you are expected to be in place in Cambridge for a full week. It's a packed schedule with breaks, as Ollie mentioned. But yeah, we bring in guest speakers, we have workshops. That's a really great opportunity to dig into these with the cohort and with the extended team. Then you will go back to wherever you're from, and people are from all over the world, every possible time zone pretty much I think we've got now. And then there's 8 weeks of online. You'll have a recorded lecture each week and then online discussion sessions. As someone's asked about time zones, we do run usually 2 on a Friday afternoon, at different times so that people can join, hopefully from whichever time zone they're in. And we do tend to find that the people from the US tend to go to the one later in the day. People from India or Australia go to the one earlier. For example, other people, one student in the US who likes to get up super early and join the earlier session, which is nice as well. But so it really is quite flexible in that sense. Each term you're assigned an advisor, one of the core academic team to work closely with, and you'll have a group meeting with their advisees online, and that's scheduled around everyone's availability. And then a one-to-one with them as well to discuss the practicalities of the assessment and your plans and ideas and get some feedback on that. Yes, there's a lot of flexibility. The main focus is making sure you're in Cambridge for those 4 weeks. In terms of those 4 weeks, we've also had a couple of practical questions. So someone's asked about taking care of a baby during the master's course. And yeah, we acknowledge people have lives. This is a professional master's. People are coming in with all sorts of situations, and we are always very understanding of that and supportive of that. There are practical things we do put in place, things like if people are breastfeeding and all sorts as well. So we can do whatever we can to accommodate that. And yeah, we're always excited to meet people's kids, whether that's on Zoom or otherwise. Yeah, we had a tiny member of our discussion group last week, which was great. Yes, then some of the practicalities of the sorry, let me see. Is there anything anyone else wants to add to that while I look up some more of the live questions to see what else we can answer about the practicalities of the program?
I wanted to ask our students, because it's come out in the questions as well, what's the hardest part of the course? What have you struggled with? And maybe about workload, because that question has come up. If you're a professional and you're living your professional life alongside doing a master's, what has that been like for each of you? And Jenny, just because I know it's something you've taken an interest in and have already spoken to a little bit, maybe you could start us off by also shedding a bit of light on in what ways does work like this improve your professional life? Like, how has it changed the way you do your job, if at all?
Yeah. So hugely, I think that, previously when I was working, I worked in the space I have for many years doing a very similar job, and I'm quite senior. So you start to fall back on a certain vocabulary, you start to fall back on certain phrases that you'll use that become a little bit stale. And I could see AI, increasingly we were talking about AI. I worked in communications platform as a service at that time. I've moved since. And, there were a lot of AI agents, etc. And I just I wanted to break out of how much I was boring myself. And I also didn't want to become limited by the context that I was offered in a corporate environment for this thing that I could see was going to be changing society. So for me, that was really fundamental in terms of, tapping into my own intellect again, kind of refiring my own imagination and capabilities from a different angle. So for me, it was a total kind of refresh. And then I think at the same time, it's a really demanding course, right? I'm not gonna pretend it's not. And you have to be productive and you have to manage your time really effectively. But I found personally, and I can't really believe I'm saying this because it doesn't sound kind of natural to me, but I found that through managing how I was studying and through kind of the passion that I found for the research and the reading and the topics that we were covering, I actually became a lot more productive at work. And I don't really know exactly the psychology around that, but nonetheless, it occurred. And so I can only kind of say that it is hard work, but the motivation that you will find to really push yourself will actually kind of have this overspill effect into your day-to-day life as well, which is a good thing.
That's really nice, Jenny. Thank you. Zena or Oliver, do either of you want to share your perspective?
Sure. I mean, I can maybe just go to the other way. Like I started the course 1 year after I had graduated from my undergrad. I'd been working for a year in the industry. And for me, it was a natural thing. I was okay, I'm going to work and study at the same time. It'll be fine. But it is kind of, as Jenny said, it's a challenging thing. So you need to really manage your time well and try to find synergies. I think that was the thing that worked for me quite well. I had a bit of a was lucky that I could kind of shape my work and I had a lot of flexibility there. For instance, like I accepted a project that was on expandability, and I was working the governance module on expandability as well, and that was a lot of synergies, and I could just like work and it would be suitable for uni and actual work. So that was quite nice. But yeah, so I think it's important to also look into where are possible synergies that you can find and so forth. But while it might be challenging, I think that the thing that Jenny said as well is just I also cut myself to also improve a lot throughout these 2 years, managing my time and also getting things done much better than before. So I think this is also one benefit that you get from the course. And also the hardest part, I think, dissertation, guys, it's just quite challenging, but also the most rewarding one. It's a transformative experience, really. So yeah, I pass it on to Oliver, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar position to Zeno, where I'm pretty early on into my career. Maybe going back to the point of how it shaped my work, like what the relationship has been. So I do work in the academic side of Cambridge University Press with all the publishing and so. And it's super cool to see how I did do previous projects at work related to AI, because I have been working here for 3 years. So I was working before I started my master's. And now, since I've been doing the master's, every time that there is a project related to AI, I always think, and I always try and bring up the worries that I have in the master. So it is a direct, like, symbiotic relationship where I'm just kind of trying to learn and soak up everything from the masters and apply it. And hopefully it has been noticed by my team, because we have been shaping the projects in a way that we do take some of these worries into consideration, whereas we didn't used to do that earlier. And in terms of how difficult it is, yes, it is challenging. I mean, it is Cambridge, so it is going to be difficult, but at the same time, I think the course itself is designed implicitly for working for professionals. It's not like an MPhil that is just it's not like an MPhil split in half. It's like it's an MST, so it is specifically designed to be accommodating to your work. Even with the readings that you have each week, there are like kind of necessary readings and then extra readings if you want to go really in depth into a specific topic that you found interesting that week. So it is quite accommodating. And yeah, I think the main driving force, at least in my case, is just that if you think you've got a lot of work and then you suddenly start reading and you just find it interesting, it's kind of just keeps going from there. So it doesn't feel that worky. But that might just be. So yeah, I think it is difficult, but for sure manageable. It's designed to be manageable.
I'll just add to this, you know, an exemplar situation is not needed, doesn't need to be the norm, but things like this have happened over the years. Is, you know, a student will write an assignment about, we had one student working at a bank in a senior position and wrote about AI and credit scores and was interested in the history of credit scores and a different approach than what was being proposed at work. And, you know, their boss ended up reading their assignment for this course. You know, I come from the history of science, and it's rare, you know, if you're working on metallurgy in the antebellum period, it's not like something that everybody will be dying to read, but we're lucky, I think, in that being in a laboratory environment about a subject that is of keen fascination for people around the world allows for some interplay between work and this course. And so we do try to honor those things. I'll also just speak very briefly before passing back to you, Garfield, about, because 2 questions I've seen have come up about, like, do I apply in the first cohort or the first instance or the latter? We do not intend to fill the course in the first group, so you can return if you must and apply later. But if you feel your materials are ready, please do submit. We have had a lot of interest in this course, which is part of the reason we've broken it into 2. And ultimately, I think we just want to get a sense of who you are, because even though it's competitive in a way that we just have lots of you know, genuine interest. So don't worry too much about the technicalities and just try and represent who you are as best you can. And I think that's the best shot you can give yourself.
Yeah, if I can add on that, the competitiveness is simply because we don't have enough places to take everyone that we want to, which means that we have to set criteria for what we're looking for, and that doesn't become a sort of credentialism. It's very much, like Johnny said, what kinds of questions people are asking, what kinds of different experiences and perspectives that they can bring. A part of that might be how they might use what they're on the course. But that doesn't have to be prescriptive in advance. Plenty of students do change jobs throughout the course into something more relevant. We've had people go on and join, international government organizations, or change companies, or just change role within that company, or make a startup with other students on the course. So there are all sorts of different pathways through this, and out of this. And that might be into further research, and CFI is in the process of establishing a PhD program. Also, there are plenty of other, you'll meet many guest speakers from other institutions who might be good supervisors for PhDs, so that there are plenty of good routes out into further research in different ways. That might be in terms of just interest. It might be in terms of promotion or change of role, or complete change to a different sector. And some people are actually coming in looking to change sector, or looking to move from the military to policy, say, or from technical to more ethical and social focus within a technical setting. There's no one path, just like there's no one student. And I think that's what makes the course so magical, really, for us, is that we get this diverse group of people in a room. I wanted to say that Johnny means lab setting in a figurative sense. We're not literally there in white coats, but just thought it's worth clarifying that. We could all dress up in white coats if we wanted, but it's not the usual way that we run things. But yeah, it's just to exemplify the exciting and intellectually experimental setting that we've got going on, and that it's really open to trying new ideas.
I might jump in there just to answer a question that's come up from Stefan. Could you help us understand a bit better the difference between AI ethics and society in the human-inspired AI degree, which is a sister degree to this one? And I think if I can indulge, the figurative laboratory. One of the differences, there are many people out there using AI to do curious things, and if that is your if you've got the training and that is the sort of thing you'd like to do, is to develop models and technical, new techniques, or whatever it may be, then the human-centered program may be more preferable for you. For us, and this is where what I think is interesting, is that those models get deployed in society. And so I actually think of people studying AI ethics as at the forefront of AI, the study of AI itself, because we understand, as you've heard from Jenny and the others, that these tools require actualization, and where they are actualized, the context in which they are deployed, influence how they are taken up. And so we offer as holistic a picture as we can, and it can be a bit dizzying, I think, for students at the start, because we will question, the legitimacy of terminology. Why agency? What specifically is intelligent here? Why learning? From where do these terms gain their authority? But the benefit is, I hope, as you've heard from the students, is that after getting comfortable in the kind of discomfort of everything being available to be questioned, you begin to see AI within broader systems of change, and I think can anticipate where this will go better than those who don't kind of approach it that way. So that's one answer to that question.
Yeah, and I think just adding to that, there was a question about sort of, what does AI mean on this course? And yes, it is much more broad than LLMs and ChatGPT, and it's been going on for a lot longer than that. This also comes to the point that we've touched on a bit around the sort of keeping things up to date. And I think it's a balance between situating things within histories and new perspectives on history, with applying that to examples that are happening each week. I mean, Johnny and I are both teaching modules at the moment, and I think both start each discussion session with what has happened this week and how does that relate to what we're talking about. I had a discussion group last week on narratives and imaginaries. So we looked at things that had happened and saw what narratives were evident in them. We're at that cutting edge while situating it within these established theories and approaches, and then adding something new onto that in particular contexts.
I can come
There are a
in
few.
briefly,
Sorry.
Garfield. Sorry if
Yeah.
that's an opening.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, thanks. Just a question from Edward about, if you have a large piece of work like an undergraduate dissertation that's 7,000 words, practically how best to cut it into 5,000. I think, and I'm sorry if I've made this point, too many times in the call, but the main thing we want is to be able to understand how you're thinking. And so if that helps guide the decision of where to cut, how much to cut, or how to kind of formulate the written material, it is a process that is meant to be kind of non-adversarial. We're not trying to like poke at the cracks of your argument, but to understand, how does this person go about, how methodical are they, how committed do they seem to be towards this end, even if they're not there yet, how might they get there? And just as like practical small things, having a friend or a colleague or a family member proofread, offer another perspective, that those little things can be helpful as you put your application materials together, knowing that we get a lot of applications, and so those little advantages do help in that you've kind of taken the care, put in the care that we could see you would put into the course were you to be accepted.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, and I think I've got a couple more questions around the application process. So one is about the interviewing process. Yeah, it's a two-stage process. Based on the written application, we shortlist. We look for the intellectual and academic potential you have. We look for existing knowledge, which could be technical, could be more social methods or historical approaches. It's very open in that we're not coming in with preconceived ideas of what a student should be. We're also looking for motivation and how that might come out of or feed into your aims and your lived experiences, and also what else you're sort of contributing to this area. And the same criteria used in the interview. You'll have it's usually a sort of 30-minute interview with two of us, two members of the team, where we'll ask you questions about your dissertation proposal and other aspects of your application, and just get to more of a feel for how you ask these questions, what interests you, what's driving you towards this. There's no technical test or live essay writing or anything like that. It's very much us getting to know you, and yeah, hearing about your story and what's led you to us. We have had some questions about scholarships. Unfortunately, this is something we're working on, but at the moment we don't have any direct scholarships for this course. The PACE website does have some links to information on external funding, and someone asked about their work funding it. Plenty of people's employers do fund it. Employers do see it as a valuable addition, and hopefully some of the things we've said about how you can bring this back into your role, some of the things that our students have said, hopefully that can be used to help persuade them. Yeah, are there any other, Jonathan, are there any other sort of administrative aspects of the application that you think we haven't covered from the questions?
No, just to remind everyone, so we've got 2 rounds of applications. The first one closes mid-November, and the team will then be shortlisting and inviting people to online interviews, probably around about the beginning of December. And then the second round of applications will close towards the end of February. Interviews will probably be towards the end of March. So we'll have a cohort of around about the same size we have this year, which is around about 65. We get 3 or 4 times the number of applications for each place. So just to reiterate, we can't unfortunately offer every single applicant a place on the course, and we get a number of excellent applications. Some people have applied more than once in the past and been successful a second or even a third time round. So it's not a reflection of a lack of quality if you are not successful, but people have been able to come back again and demonstrate added value, or what they've gone away and done to kind of really demonstrate their commitment to the subject, and they've thrived on the course.
Some questions have come up about PhD. We're really pleased. It's sort of been unexpected, the interest prior students have had in continuing their education. That's what PACE is all about. So we're thrilled that many have kind of chosen to pursue PhDs. I got a reference request this morning from a student who's applied to continue a PhD or to take a PhD up in Cambridge. It's not a prerequisite. Many, as you've heard from us, continue on in industry and make use of what they've learned outside of academia, but it is a possibility. And I think generally a master's dissertation is a good kind of way to test drive a PhD. You show that you're able to write and in kind of 15,000 words, knowing that a PhD might be 80,000 words. So you're kind of demonstrating that you'd be up to the task. Yes, I'll stop there.
Thanks. A couple more practical questions around the application. Someone's asked about co-author pieces. That's a tricky one because we do want to see your writing. It may depend on the level of involvement you've had. If you have led on it, then perhaps you could add some commentary situated in that, but ideally it would be something that you have written. Ideally recently, but that depends. It could be a few years ago. If you have something suitable. Hopefully we've said quite a bit about the kinds of things that we're looking for in it, and so that should be the guiding principle. Someone's asked about resume structure. There's no particular template. People are coming from different industries, different career stages. That might be different. Some people are academics or researchers in other fields, so they might have an academic CV, which is a very particular thing, but that's absolutely not a requirement. Anything that shows your experiences, your skills, your education, all these sorts of things, the extra bits that might have led you to this. That's what we want to know. We're not ticking off credentials. We're looking at what level of motivation and potential that you have coming into it. Someone's asked about, is being in employment essential? Absolutely not. It's a professional master's, but that's more about the type of students and opening it up to different kinds of students compared to an MPhil, as Oliver mentioned, I think. People have asked about, sorry.
No, I was going to say we have a flood of new questions, so I'm ready. I can jump in on some of those when you're ready.
So there's about the letter of recommendation for the reference. Yes, it is a written reference. Yes, and Jonathan, I think that needs to be done as part of the application, doesn't it, rather than being contacted afterwards?
Sorry, that's with regard to
the references in the application deadline. It should be a written reference.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the references at the application stage. Your referees will automatically be contacted at our end.
Okay, thank you. In terms of I think this is the dissertation proposal, people have asked about a few questions related to the topic and the method. So I think, as Johnny mentioned earlier, we're looking at and interested in how you frame the questions, what extra questions you might ask, maybe what specific contexts you might investigate this in. So if you can be specific, that's helpful. And if you have an idea of the kinds of methods that you might apply or what sort of sources you might look at, that might be analyzing corporate documents, it might be analyzing technical documents, it might be doing a slightly more sort of ethnographic. So there are all kinds of different methods that you might use. So showing some awareness of that. And if you can link that to maybe any studies that you've found that have done similar approaches. We do also have a some videos up on the course website now, one with just a brief introduction to the course, which I think most of you have covered today, but another one on the dissertation proposal. So please do have a look at those as well. And also people have asked about if they have any ongoing questions. And again, there's a contact form on the PACE website, which will be directed to whether that's the administrative team or the IT team or the academic team as well. Yeah, Johnny, do you want to jump in on any others that you've seen?
Yeah, sure. A few have come in at the end about, again, the kind of portfolio, what's the appropriate way to put together an application. And I think, one of the joys of academia, especially in the present moment that we're in, is that we aren't necessarily, we're trying to see you, right? I've made that point a few times. But what that means in practice is that we'd certainly welcome if you've done things, as some who have asked questions have implied, about campaigns for in advertising, let's say, of actually deploying AI out in the world. And what I'm hoping to convey here is that what we aspire to take seriously is you beyond just your professional remit. Like what concerns you? How can we help you answer questions that you have? Are there aspects of your practice that open new questions? So we've had, for instance, a student in the past using or unsure of whether to use AI in their creative process. We are not looking for the kind of the successful artist who's using AI everywhere necessarily, but if they're asking interesting questions about, the kind of social or the legitimacy or the ethics of AI in that context, we feel like, okay, this is the sort of person we can equip with better tools on this program. And in terms of, is it better to use degree or non-degree coursework if you've done an undergraduate degree recently? I would again send it through the filter of, what represents your capabilities. And I don't mean that if I can offer a little hack, it's not like, Bloomberg says that AI is going to raise $1 trillion, GDP this much, and therefore we need to act. It's kind of being curious at the next levels, like what are you reading or seeking out that speaks to your intellectual curiosities? You don't need to be a master's student. You're applying to do a master's, but it doesn't hurt to, like, we will take you seriously is what I'm trying to convey as you get curious about this very curious set of considerations.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, I think what you said about asking interesting questions is really, that's why we do what we do. That's what we're looking for in students. That's really what it's all about. I think we are going to have to wrap up there. So thank you first of all to my colleagues and our fantastic students for joining us and sharing their experiences and answering lots of questions. Thank you all for attending this session. We hope it's been useful. If you have any ongoing questions, you can reach out to enquiries@pace.cam.ac.uk. The session has been recorded and will be circulated to you afterwards. The first of those application deadlines is 17th of November. But if you don't feel you can get things ready by then there is one in February as well. Yeah, please refer to the website for any further information. And thank you again. We hope to enjoy reading your applications and seeing you studying with us soon.